I kind of left college. I'm gonna say left college, was out in Buffalo, New York. Played football there for years at Buffalo State College. Ended up graduating, moved back down south here to Alabama. Currently residing in Birmingham, Alabama. Started working, a little bit in the 9 to 5. Kind of got to a point where I'm like, hey, I think I'm at the end of my road with this, because just not in regards to actually working for someone, it's just being around a bunch of people that this is their lifestyle. They don't have any true goals or aspiration. You have a few people that talks about like, hey, something I want to do, but a lot of the people didn't have the mindset that I would say that I had. I mean, not saying that I'm downgrading what they were trying to achieve, but I just knew like, hey, my mindset is totally different from what we're trying to achieve. So man, after I just kind of let that go, I got into this space, which is the finance. Kind of saw a friend of mine out Buffalo doing this exact thing, and he was doing super well. And I know he wasn't doing it on a level to where he's just trying to, take it far and beyond of him, working by himself. Like he works for himself, and he's doing 6 figures a year. And I'm like, man, you just do these couple of things here. You can take this from 6 figures all the way up to $1 million, at least a year. But just saw a great opportunity in this space, and finance is something that I always had a heart for. Especially dealing with money. Who don't love money, and just being around, and not saying, generating revenue, but just being around money, and actually being able to help other people fulfill some of the things that they want to do.
What's up, y'all? This is Isaiah Robinson with Off the Field. I got a special one for you guys today. Cesare Lewis, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here, man. Finally got the opportunity to be on the show after, we didn't, my bad, I had to reschedule a couple of times, but, I'm here today and I'm super excited.
Definitely. Blessed for you to be here as well. So if you're on the street and you're talking to people, how do you introduce yourself?
Just kind of let them know who I am. My name is Cesare. I'm co-owner of CFS Global. What we are is a consulting firm. We help consumers when it comes to their personal credit. We also help business owners start, scale, and grow their business through, business funding.
So let's talk about your journey and how you even got to this financial market. Can you share like some of your personal journey and how you developed that championship mindset? Because you had to be a champion to even develop that mindset when it comes to finances. And I know you was a former collegiate athlete as well.
Absolutely. Former collegiate athlete for SUNY Buffalo State. Played 3 years there, one at Erie Community College. Started from the JUCO level, actually was a walk-on both sides, and that just came from some personal issues that happened. Not saying that I wasn't, good enough to get recruited, but it's just some personal things. I went to school super late, started 23 years old. I always just felt like, I've seen so many athletes from around my way that were super good at what they did, but they never did pursue. And I always just, even as a kid, I always wondered, like, hey, why haven't you guys, like, you're super good. I feel like you can do something at least on the next level, but you guys just kind of fade. And I just didn't allow that to be my story, number one. And, like I said, it started back late. It was a tough road, man, just trying to be professional in the space. Actually, man, I had a tough journey. I remember missing the bus, like made the team, as a walk-on. I remember missing the bus on my first game, brother. And, we had a super tough coach. So he's like, you're almost off the team. I was the type of person, I just believed in myself, even though, we had a little bad blood because of that. I still, I made sure I came to practice early every single day. Make sure I came to practice early. Whatever he needed me to do, I did that, times 10, and just to kind of rebuild that trust. And, eventually I became a starter again. And just on that journey, it helped me develop even more, because I never been, from coming from high school to collegiate level, it's a lot more that we have to deal with, as far as two-a-days, having to be at meetings on time, just being in the public eye every day, and I have to just keep a clean slate, that just helps me translate into the whole business, because you have to have a tough mindset to even, transition from sports into like the professional world.
Fact. So that's crazy. That's a crazy story. So
Yeah.
throughout your journey, right? A lot of times as athletes and as business owners, you can't define yourself because of your financial status. So how do you define success beyond the metrics of money and trophies? And how does that perspective and how does that shape your perspective on leadership?
Outside of just generating dollars for yourself,
Mhm.
it's a great joy when you're able to see somebody achieve something that they didn't even think that was possible. And in this space, because you know what you're doing, and you develop a skill to where you can bring success to people that really didn't even know that this was even possible. That's one of the reasons it's brought me great joy, just seeing people excited about something they can do. Like, hey man, I didn't know I can get access to $50,000 at 50,000, 100,000, 250K at 0%, so I can start, scale, and grow my business. And eh, since we've been doing that and just seeing so many people in the space have being able to attain that, some people have went ahead and started their business and grew it. That this brought me a lot of joy, honestly.
I love it. And I feel the same way. That's actually why I'm not sure if you know, but I got a financial services company as well. And I
Okay.
started the movement for Young Money Millionaires. So that's my team. I
Wow.
want to shout your money out. And it's really
Absolutely.
the ages between 35 and under. And we teach
Okay.
financial literacy, and we actually are financial services brokerage for many firms, many firms. So I just want to shout Young Money out because is in the finance game, you really do change a lot of people's lives. And from the outside looking in, you may not know how powerful it is until you actually get into it. And once you actually get into it, it's like I feel like it's a whole nother level of football, honestly, but just in the real world because you got your section, you got your quarters, and you can break it up in the game how you wanted to break it up in. So I think what you're doing is
Absolutely.
very influential and amazing, honestly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because one thing I can say, everybody wants access to money, and everybody wants access to credit. Those are the two things that pretty much runs the world. Even billionaires, they still, a lot of them, before they got to becoming billionaires, I'm pretty sure they used somebody else's money in order to leverage their way to where they are now. So, great space to be in. I would definitely influence a lot more people who are looking to become entrepreneurs to kind of start looking into this space, because it's very lucrative, and you're going to be able to assist a lot of people. You're going to be able to talk to a bunch of people because, like I said, this is a money space.
Mhm. And it's funny, my one of my mentors always taught me OPM, other people's money. So you can
Yeah.
use a lot of different things with that for sure.
Absolutely. And even from a tax perspective, I'm not like a tax person, but just so many different leverages that you can do on the tax side. Just think about the section of when it comes to depreciating like your vehicles. Like, it's
Mm,
so many benefits when it comes to that. Like, it's people that have practically got vehicles for free just based off of, like, I'm talking about G wagons and etc. because of being able to utilize the tax code and you know um, incentivize themselves in their business.
mm. Wow. G
Absolutely.
wagons and different cars just from for free just off the tax credit.
Yes. Section
That's crazy.
179.
Mm. So let me ask you this question. I know in this industry it can be tough and you can probably face challenges that may test your business. How did you overcome those challenges?
Really faith in God. Definitely
Mm,
have to throw that in there. I don't know if people, whatever they believe, but just having that trust in God. You're going to go through tests in anything that you're willing to do. But as we all know, you've never, you rarely fail. Like, you don't, once you stick to something, there's no failure, man. You just have to find yourself, trust and believe in yourself, and just continue to grow. And don't be so concerned about other people that are doing the same thing that you do. Don't worry about where they are in the game. You just stick to what you do. Find mentors, find people in your space that's going to help you grow as an entrepreneur. And I promise you, you will get to the other side.
mm,
And because I remember saying to myself, man, I wish we can just generate $1,000 a week. That help us just kind of stay afloat, where we can just kind of take care of what we have at home and still be able to, do this thing, not have to go back to anybody's job, because it's tough when you're trying to work and do a business. Even though I tell people, let your job be your business partner,
mhm.
when you're trying to really transfer yourself into the entrepreneur space. So yeah, man, I'd always advise, like, just stick to what you're trying to do. Don't stop. I know it's may sound cliche, but that's it. Super simple.
So were you always a business owner, entrepreneur, or did you have to fund your business like you just said you had to use your job to fund your business? How was your journey like?
Growing up, man, my mom, my dad, we had convenience stores, we had laundromat. My mom always had, she had clothing store. She was a beautician. So I always been in the space of entrepreneurship. Like, I remember being young, I used to always think to myself, like, Mom, why aren't we like a Macy's or a JC Penney's, as far as what we were doing, as far as being small business owners, and I've always just like, when I was young, I'm looking at like, man, I would do this, I would do that. So just having that mindset, it helps you to kind of mold yourself into an entrepreneur. Even though I've done, I've worked in the 9 to 5 space, just because, like, hey, I need to work. I'm young. I need to start doing something instantly. But I knew entrepreneurship is something that I wanted to do for sure.
So now, I know a lot of people may have a fear or may have a worry even leaving their 9 to 5 to get into entrepreneurship. I know that you was in Buffalo, New York, and then you made your way back down to Alabama. So did you have
Right.
any fear leaving your 9 to 5 to start your entrepreneurship journey? And how did you overcome just those adversities that you faced?
Man, I'm a person. I have a super blind faith. Fortunately, I have people around me that can, everybody journey is different, but I had people around me that, like, hey, just do what you need to do. Just say my fiance, do what you need to do. I know you're going to be successful. Just allow yourself to learn the skill. And me being me, if I just dedicate myself consistently to something, I'm going to have light speed growth. And that's what happened. And eventually, man, I was making that $1,000 a week. And then, my best month ever was 20K, which was here in 2024. So, that journey definitely paid off. Just really I always had a blind faith, man. Just believing in myself, most importantly. I just want to give you one more story on just believing in. When I went from the junior college to Buffalo State, I ended up missing the fall. Fall workouts, the fall season. So I called the coach and he was like, yeah, man, our roster is filled. You might have to wait. So my mom was going to Buff State at the time. So what I did was I would go out and just sit in the stands every day, probably a week straight. Sit in the stands, watch them, practice. I would even go inside the cafeteria when they have, in practice, they go in the cafeteria and eat. I used to go in there, sit in there as a team, like I'm on a team. And I would say maybe that Monday, the coach came to my table and said, hey, go to the locker room. I want you to get your stuff so we can get the physical and everything. And from that moment forward, I started every single year. I started in 3 positions at Buff State. So that's another testimony of just having faith in yourself. And luckily, it's crazy because I played semi-pro as well. And a guy that played at Buff State, he was a local and he saw me play semi-pro. And he just put a bug in the coach's ear like, hey, I don't care who you have out here currently, put this guy on your team, period. And that's how I had it.
Love it, man. So, and that's a testament to either chasing your dreams or really chasing your goals, because a lot of times people have dreams and people have aspirations, but the Bible says faith without works is dead. So that's just a dedication and a testimony to you actually putting in that work, even though you don't know if it's going to pay off. But you still got to really put in that work, and one day, hopefully and prayerfully, that it comes true for you. But you have to put in the work. For sure. So why do you believe financial literacy is so crucial and so important to even having a championship mindset off the field?
It's super important because coming from where I'm from, man, I've seen people have to carry water from one house to another because they just don't know how to budget, or they don't believe that they can, live on this level. I've seen people lights get shut off. I've been a victim of that. You know what I mean? So it's just coming from a certain background, and like, this is what people need. It's not because of these people was less fortunate. It was only due to financial illiteracy. That's the only reason these people were in this position. So, and me coming, getting to where I am now and being in this space, I was super, super important, because it's not that there's a lack, but there's a lack of you not, trying to, educate yourself.
For sure. So, what are some common misconceptions about funding that you encounter with your clients, and how did your firm address them?
A lot of people think that, hey, just because they see that we can get you access to 50, 150,000, 250,000 at 0%, they think because they see that they're automatically qualified. I mean, it's easy to get qualified. You just have to put yourself in the space, which is having good personal credit. I always advise people, I don't care what it takes, whatever it takes you for you to spend, get your personal credit in order. Because, for instance, we had a gentleman now who, man, he was living in his car, honestly, living in his car, but he's a super go-getter. He's dedicated to what he do. We worked with him for a month or so. He had one thing on his report that we had to get removed, one little collection. Once we got that removed, he got himself access to $50,000 at 0%. He was trying to get into this Airbnb program. Now he's currently in the Airbnb program, and he's currently scaling. So he went from living in his car to actually getting access to $50,000, now getting access to an asset that's helping him cash flow. So that's super amazing.
That is amazing. So now with this new generation with NIL deals, college players making millions, making thousands of dollars, how would you tell them to budget their money, or how would you tell them how to manage their money? Let's say that. How would you even tell them where to start?
First thing, you definitely better get you the best advisor possible. One that's reputable, that's going to help you manage. Really, I don't care how much money you got. Everybody needs a budget. I don't care how much money you receive. Everyone needs a budget, because the higher you go in your income, the more the bigger your eyes are going to get, because you're going to start seeing things, and next thing you know, you're spending $5,000 here, 10 grand here, and that's really wasteful. I always get into an entrepreneur mindset. For one, make sure your credit is together. Especially you got all of this money, you need to be building your credit up to the point where you have $1 million in other people's money. I don't care if you got $1 million in the bank, still use other people's money, because you have so many different resources that just in case if things doesn't go right, we can always, America is a great place. So
what are 3 top things an entrepreneur should do to prepare for attracting investors or just building up credit?
Start with the current bank. That's where you want to start. A bank that you've been building with. That's where you want to first go get your initial credit. You can start out with a secured line of credit, or you can start out with a secured credit card. I would say if you're a person who you got an NIL deal, you've been banking with, just say Chase, Bank of America, any of those top tier banks, credit union, whoever, you can take however much money and open up a secured credit card. Now you can create some type of comparable credit for yourself. So that's a great way to get yourself initially in the door and to create some comparable credits for yourself. Because when it comes to business funding and you getting access initially, they're going to look at the comparables that you have on your personal credit. So if you've never had a $20,000 credit card, you never dealt with 50K, then it's going to be hard for you to get $50,000 funding. Whereas when you do, just say if you had $50,000 in overall limits on the personal side, we can take you to multiple different banks. And a lot of times those banks are going to give you close to what you already have, but sometimes 3 times the amount. So if we go to Chase and get a cool 50, you can go to Bank of America and get a cool 50. You can go to Truist and get a cool 50, and so on and so forth.
And that just
and now
accumulates.
next thing you know, yep. Say it one more time.
I said that accumulates, and now you got at least 200K off credit.
Absolutely. And when we think about, we call it reserves, right? Reserves is when you find yourself in a position, now you got reserves to actually, hey, let me go in here, let me get some fire reserves, because I done ran into a situation, the economy is bad, we done ran into COVID, I need some cash. So it's best to be caught with it and be caught without it. That's just like the Federal Reserve for the United States. If we find ourselves in a bad situation, we get bailouts through the Federal Reserve. So reserves are something that you should always keep in mind, especially as an entrepreneur.
Facts. So how can somebody reach out to you and just find your company for your assistance?
Okay, you can find us on social media platforms. It's like Instagram. You can find us at underscore 850 CFSG, and also we have a contact line. You can give us a call. We'll answer promptly, and that number is 888-850 CFSG. And that CFSG is 2374. So you can definitely either give us a call or you can find us online.
Love it, love it. So how do you balance being a entrepreneur in your personal life?
As of now, it's kind of tough because you're gonna find yourself, you're still trying to get a lot more organized. As an entrepreneur, you're really trying to get yourself from working within the business to getting some of your time back so you can spend it on, hey, you got a wife or you got kids, you definitely want to spend as much time as possible, and you don't want to spend that time just based off of I have to spend that time with you. You want it to be wholeheartedly you're spending time because this is something that you want to do, not because, man, I got to get back within an hour or so, and you're just rushing your time with that person, so you're actually not there. But I can't say it gets kind of tough, but I always find myself on the weekends, man, like, hey, leave me alone. It don't even matter about the money, especially I kind of got myself to the point where I have enough reserves that, I didn't help myself out, and I can just kind of lean away from the day-to-day operation of working super long hours.
How old? When should you start investing your money? At what age? I heard of some things like I know we got something like $1 million baby policy. You put a little $100 away a month. By the time they're 60 years old, they can have $1 million in their account. So how early should people really start investing their money into themselves?
Whenever time is for them to get life insurance policies, I guess when you're first born,
Mhm.
set them up with a life insurance policy, whole life. That's an investment. So they're starting super early. Then when they can get to the point where, even with parents, we talk to the parents. Parents,
Mhm.
whenever you can invest for your child, that's the time to start doing it. Not until not the question you asked me, like, hey, when it's time to actually invest, it's something for the parent. Start immediately. So now, when a child is old enough to actually understand, you can kind of instill that into them. Like, hey, you need to start doing this, start thinking about this. But in actuality, I'm thinking 17, 18 years old, you need to start really considering, especially in the space that you're in, man. You're dealing with a bunch of athletes. These people are, 16 years old getting NIL deals. So,
Mhm.
hey, yeah, that's the time. As soon as you can get your hands some cash, and the most important thing, invest into your education. That's the
Mhm.
number one thing. Invest into your education.
Oh,
Yeah, just investing into your education, man. Invest into a skill, something that you start early, 10 years in the game, and you're making six figures in 25 years old. That's a young man's dream.
mhm. And when you're talking about investing, I wish I knew this knowledge coming out of college. Like, oh wow, in college, could have been investing while in college. Now I can start my life with 50, 100K instead of zero. And it's a
Right.
huge difference and a huge jump. So, can
Absolutely.
you recommend any books? Any books you read to influence your perspective on leadership and financial literacy, or anything that you've seen?
Um, the Bible is number one. Um, it's a great tool to help. There's so many different stories in the Bible that translate when it comes to wealth. So that's number one. Number two, I think and grow rich. I know that may sound cliche, but you just need to tap into something that's going to help invigorate your mind when it comes to trying to learn when it comes to finance. Because I'm just give you a scenario. When I was in sports, I didn't know anything about other people's money. I thought my credit, brother, I thought I would never ever in my life have any good credit. Me thinking of an American Express card, that was so far. Even though my father, he had all of those things, but I didn't even think that was even possible
Mhm.
until I started to educate myself. When I educated myself, became a lot more aware, and I started to, these things became attainable. I started to attract a lot more because the more you put your energy into something, the more you're going to start attracting. Now I have, I didn't get up to American Express Platinum, which is the metal card. I never thought in my life that I would be able to obtain it, but that's super easy. Just educating yourself and putting yourself in that position.
I love it. What what final piece of advice would you give to an aspiring leader or entrepreneur watching this show today?
One, invest in your education, number one, because that's where it starts. I don't care how much money you have, if you're not educated, you're gonna end up putting yourself in bad situation where you're gonna actually squander your wealth. Secondly, definitely get your credit together, man. That's your catalyst to getting to where you need to be, especially as an investor, because you're gonna need a large sum of money, eventually to really scale. It's, especially if you're trying to grow as an entrepreneur and not just staying at X amount of revenue or just being a small business owner. Thirdly, what can I say? Thirdly, man, get around people that's like-minded. That's gonna help you grow even faster. Just like you and I, where we met at Myron Golden's event. We were around probably I don't know how many entrepreneurs that day, tons of different entrepreneurs. That's how and I met, and now I'm on this show, him and I, giving out some value to you guys, and now we're helping blaze another set of path for other entrepreneurs that are looking to get into this space.
I love it. I love it. I appreciate you for coming on today's show, Brody. Anything you want to say
Absolutely.
to your fans, supporters, or clients out there?
Well, they already know, man. Hey, we keep it moving. Whatever we need to get done, hey, we're here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you.